I'm with Richard Paradise, the Whole Building Design Guide Program Director for the National Institute of Building Sciences. Hey, Richard, how's it going?
All right, very good, sir.
What's the URL of the Whole Building Design Guide?
www.wbdg.org. So WBDG is Whole Building Design Guide.
Fantastic.
Even though building is in there, we do got a lot of content on site, things like site security, sustainable site design, all kinds of resources related to site, and even some that may spread out into the community, with the understanding that a building isn't on an island, that the building and its site is part of a city or a community, and it has an effect on the rest of the community. So we certainly touch on that on detail in the sustainable site section, but it's also addressed in the site design for security. As I said, how this building, whether it's federal or private, has an impact on the surrounding community when it's proposed to be in there.
Richard, how many people spend time on the site each month?
Well, we're proud to say that we have in excess of 500,000 visitors a month to the website. And
wow.
We're getting between 3 to 4 million downloads from the website a month. And that's just increasing
number.
regularly. It's increasing regularly. We have people from all over the world that's using the website. This was originally intended as a resource for the federal agencies to meet their sustainability goals, then their energy goal, and then security goals, and then it ended up growing into all the different aspects of design, and it became something of tremendous value to people not only across the country but around the world. It's being incorporated into some college academic courses. We hear grad students using the Whole Building Design Guide in their theses. Even high school kids are doing term papers off the Whole Building Design Guide. So it's becoming a resource of value to just about everybody, and our statistics show somewhere around 75% of our traffic is from the private sector.
Wow. So how long has the site been open or live and in operation?
Well, it's been open and accessible for quite some time, really going back into the late 1990s. However, at the time, the content was very limited. We created it. I was with the Navy. Dennis Talton and I were two of the four people in the room when we conceived the Whole Building Design Guide, and this thing just kept growing and growing. So somewhere around the year 2000, the Navy turned it over to my present employer, the National Institute of Building Sciences, to manage it, operate it, keep it going, and enhance it. And from there, the Defense Department and GSA and other agencies have provided the funding to continue its growth. We have a board of direction and an advisory committee that help identify some of the topics of interest, particularly to the federal agencies, but over the years we've increased our involvement in the subcommittees with the private sector folks and folks from not just industry but from professional societies and others, so that the content is relevant to people in the private sector, not just federal agency. So any given day we will get sometimes a half dozen emails, which you can email a question or comment on every page of the Whole Building Design Guide, or we'll get direct calls in here from people saying, I need to know something about how you do an economic analysis for LED luminaires. That one just came in this week. Are there tools out there to define accessibility for hospitals? And I got a question on youth facilities. So we're getting an unbelievable amount of emails and phone calls regularly on a daily basis from people who want to know more about the topics that we cover. And, it blows away that it just keeps growing and growing.
Your website has a lot of resources for the contracting community, as well as some of the other communities, that are trying to be more responsible about their energy use as well. Are there 2 or 3 certain areas that you guys really try to hone in on, or is the goal of the site to really try to be all things to all people?
Well, it certainly tries to be all things to all people for commercial and government buildings. As we talked, we've got very little on residential, but certainly residential comes up more and more, so we may consider putting more in there that's applicable directly to residential buildings. But certainly, because the website was created to help the federal agencies, the 2 biggest issues for them are sustainability and security. And the 2 subcommittees that will be meeting in the next week or so are the Sustainable Subcommittee and the Secure Safe Subcommittee. There's a lot that goes in those sections. I think that we've got probably more content on sustainability and security than we do about any other subject. So those are the prominent ones, but we try to make sure that both of those identify their place in the overall integrated design process in the goal of achieving a high-performance building.
And is the goal of the site really to get your users and members to read and consume the content, or are there other objectives that you're trying to leverage with the site?
Well, we want it to be read, and we started out right in the beginning saying that we wanted the content to be reductive. We're not trying to make another 400-page textbook on a topic, because we know there's plenty of those out there. What we want it to be is readable and understandable to a broad audience in a short period of time. So, when I do talks on the Whole Building Design Guide, I say, the section on, let's say, high-performance HVAC is not likely to give a mechanical engineer designer a lot of new information, but it's intended to give the architect, electrical engineer, and other project team members an insight into what that is all about, so that when they're making decisions on how all these systems tie together, daylighting and occupant sensors and HVAC and louvers and shades, whatever the case may be, size of windows, that they have enough understanding to say, yeah, I think this combination works for our project. So, as I said, the content is reductive in that you should be able to understand a topic in a fairly short period of time, but we have enough resources, links, websites, and so on, that if you want to explore that topic in much more detail, you can.
Is there a section in the site that you guys built thinking it'd be a good, resource, and happened to find out that it was a hidden gem for you guys?
Well, going back a year or so, just to give an example, we, if you've seen on the site, we have some consumer education courses, and one of the ones that we created was on accessibility. Well, the state of California saw that course, liked it, and made it a requirement for all practicing architects in California to take that course. Well, the use of that course went up 11,000% in a year. Now, of course, everybody's taken that course, and the usage has dropped significantly. And I think they may be on a 2 or 3 year, cycle where they're going to have to take another course again. So, that was extremely hot for one state, California. I think resilience is really a hot issue for the federal agencies. Energy efficient renovation of existing buildings is a very hot issue, and we're beginning to touch on it. We're going to do more with it this year.
Well, I have one final question for you before we get off the phone, and that is, I'm curious to know why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, there's several different answers to that question. One of them partly is last summer I became the program director for the Whole Building Design Guide. In my previous job in the private sector, I was the contractor who was doing the updates to the content of the Whole Building Design Guide. Then when I was with the Navy, after we conceived it, I was chairman of the advisory committee for the Whole Building Design Guide. But going back before that, the Navy, believe it or not, was the first federal agency to do sustainable design of buildings in the federal government. So I've had an interest in it, along with my associate Dennis Talton. I was the engineer with the energy part. He was the architect, and the two of us, with among others who have long left the agency, really had a passion for this. And as we grew with the Whole Building Design Guide, became a very strong advocate for the integrated design approach, what the Whole Building Design Guide is all about. So we're passionate advocates of this integrated design approach. We talk about it on the Whole Building Design Guide, right on the homepage, and we feel this is the real way to get to a high-performance building. You look at all aspects of the project. You determine which design objectives are the prominent ones, but you make sure that all the other design objectives are addressed. And then, of course, the icing on the cake is when you look at things early enough in the project development process, you can find some design strategies that meet more than one design objective. And obviously that saves cost. If you can do one, if you can do one thing, like put a water feature in and a concrete wall the water feature would be on-site stormwater retention, and the concrete wall would be a passive solar device, but those two also help you meet your blast criteria and your standoff distance, well, that's a two-time winner. And then, of course, take one step further, if that concrete wall is in a position between your building and the highway, well, it's also an acoustical barrier. So, these are the things that can only be done when a project team looks at all aspects of the design early on and makes some decisions that allow you to, again, meet multiple design objectives using a single design strategy. We are looking at the content of the Whole Building Design Guide regularly to make sure it's fresh and up to date. We check the links regularly, just beyond doing the technical updates to try to make sure all our links are valid. But most of the topics we'll address at least annually. Then when we have a new executive order, a new mandate, or some new significant event or change that affects it, we'll try to look at the content more often. So I think we feel like the traffic we get to the website continues to increase because when people come to it, they find what they want and they see that what we have is timely and in some cases on the cutting edge.
Well, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of the week.
Okay, thanks.